Neil Diamond was the god of music. He can't play guitar anymore because his hands are shaking so badly. The bad news about his health came to him when he was 77 years old. Over 2 years, he wouldn't even say he was sick. After that, he canceled everything the next day. Now that his albums have sold 125 million copies, the man behind Sweet Caroline works alone in his workshop. His sad new life is nothing like the good old days. Neil Diamond was born in Brooklyn, New York on January 24, 1941. It was a hard time because of World War II. His parents, Rose and Akiba Kiev Diamond, were Jewish and had fled from Russia and Poland because of bad times. It wasn't easy. His dad was a dry goods trader and worked hard to keep the family going during hard times. They lived in many different places in Brooklyn, and all of those places had traces of their Jewish heritage and immigrant background. Neil had a strong sense of the struggles of working-class people when he was young, and this would eventually show up in his music. During the war, the family's whole world changed for a few years. While Kiev was in the army, they moved to Cheyenne, Wyoming. Wyoming's wide-open areas seemed like another world to a kid from Brooklyn. Neil fell in love with music and stories while watching singing westerns in dark movie theaters. The big clouds, the tough heroes, and the thought that songs could express how people felt. It all stuck with him. After the war was over, the Diamonds packed up and moved back to Brooklyn, this time to Brighton Beach. Even though Neil was back in the crowded streets of New York, the chaos of the West was still inside him. During his teens, Neil found something that would change his life forever: writing songs. He wrote his first song, Hear Them Bells, when he was about 15 years old. For a girl he liked. It wasn't just a crush in school. He felt like he was in a whole new world after that. He saw Pete Seeger play that same summer at a camp upstate for Jewish kids. Neil was struck by lightning when he saw Seeger take simple words and melodies and make them into something strong. He begged for a guitar when he got home. Soon his fingers were moving all over the place as they tried to learn chords. His mind was already thinking of songs he hadn't even written yet. Neil got a cheap acoustic guitar for his 16th birthday. It might not have seemed like much, but it meant a lot to him. He spent more and more time hunched over the guitar, writing melodies and words in the margins of his notebooks. School started to slip away from him. The songs would not stay out of his mind, no matter how hard he tried to study. He became one with that guitar, which was the first real sign that maybe he wasn't meant to go the normal route. He joined the group at Erasmus Hall High School and sang with a girl named Barbara Streisand. They weren't stars yet. Their only goal was to find things out. Even though they weren't close, there was a spark between them. The world had not seen yet. Neil later changed schools and started going to Abraham Lincoln High School. It was there that he learned to fence and became friends with Herb Cohen, who would later become an Olympic fencer. Fights and music didn't seem to go together, but they both taught him how to focus, be disciplined, and dream bigger than Brooklyn. Neil got a fencing grant to go to New York University in 1958. In order to follow the American dream his parents had for him, he first studied to become a doctor. He did not pay attention in biology class, though his mind kept wandering. A lot of song ideas blocked out the anatomy images. As early as his second year, he was sneaking off to Tin Pan Alley to try to get a job as a musician. Even though his grades went down, his dreams got bigger. 1961 was when things really changed. Neil was offered a small songwriting job that paid $50 a week. He was only 10 points away from getting his degree. He was willing to take the biggest risk of his life with that little amount of money. Giving up a safe future to follow a crazy, unsure dream, he dropped out of college. His parents were very sad, especially his dad, who didn't know why his son would throw away everything. That wound wouldn't start to heal for years and years of being hit hard. Neil learnt at Sunbeam Music Publishing that the business side of making songs wasn't always fun. He was squished into a small space and told to write catchy songs for acts he had never heard of. He tried to write something personal and real, but it was turned down because it was too hard to understand. Every day he could feel his spirit getting weaker. When Sunbeam finally let him go, he was sad and free at the same time. He knew he had to do it his own way or not do it at all. It was both hopeful and sad for Neil Diamond to start out in the music business. They tried to work together with his friend Jack in 1962. They called themselves Neil and Jack and put out a few songs, but nothing really took off. Neil signed a solo deal with Columbia Records later that same year. It was nice to have a break. He put out a single in July 1963 called Clown Town. The other side was called At Night. Even though music magazines liked it, it didn't sell very well. It wasn't even close to making the charts. This company didn't waste any time. They just threw him away without thinking. That's when things got tough. Neil was poor and barely making it. He only had 35 cents to spend on food some days, which was barely enough for a snack. He wrote songs on buses, in empty rooms, and even on an old piano he found above Birdland, a club in New York City. It was a sad and lonely time, but the songs began to get better. He found his voice when he wasn't being pushed. After a while, he said that this is when he wrote songs that were true to life. That fight is what gave birth to songs like Cherry Cherry and Solitary Man. Things began to change for real in November 1965. Neil's song Sunday and Me was recorded by a group called Jay and the Americans. It was his first real success. It stayed at number 18 on the Billboard lists for weeks. It was so popular that it even went to Canada. This small win meant a lot after years of being told no. The world saw that Neil wasn't just another artist in the crowd. His songs had heart. You could not forget the hooks in his songs. Sunday and I opened doors for him that had always been shut. Soon after, Neil met Jeff Barry and Ellie Greenwich, two people who would change his life. They had a lot of fame and had written a lot of hit songs. They quickly got Neil a deal with a music publisher because they liked his songs so much. The luck didn't last long though. Just like before, he lost his job. After the fact, Neil joked that getting fired was pretty much a must for young musicians. It hurt, but that didn't stop him. Jeff and Ellie put him in touch with Burt Burns, who ran Bang Records. Burns signed Neil because he thought he was going to be great. It was the first time Neil's team had faith in him. He was free to make any kind of music he wanted. He could finally grow the dark, sad songs that had been building up inside him. Next came the event that really made his career take off. A record company owner named Don Kirshner called Neil into his office in 1966. He had to come up with a song for the Monkees, his new band. Neil played him a song called I'm a Believer that he had written just for himself. Kirshner knew it was a hit right away. They quickly made a recording of the music and sent it to California, where the Monkees added their voices. It was like a bomb went off when the song came out. Before it even came out in shops, I'm a Believer sold more than 1 million copies. It quickly became the #1 song and stayed there for 7 weeks. It became the 1967 hit song. All of a sudden, Neil Diamond wasn't just a struggling lyricist. He was the person who wrote the top song in the US. He wrote more hits for the Monkees, such as Little Bit Me, A Little Bit You, and Look Out Here Comes Tomorrow. Neil didn't forget about his own dreams even though all of this was going on. He put out Solitary Man in early 1966, but it didn't go straight to #1. But it was enough to make him famous as a solo artist. After all those hard years, he knew a lot about what it was like to be alone and try to find love. It looked a lot like his life, even though he didn't know it at first. What they said was real, raw, and unforgettable. He then put out Cherry Cherry a few months later, and that one really took off. It made it all the way to #6 on the charts. Neil Diamond didn't just write hits for other people though. He was turning into a star. He also rushed out his first record, The Feel of Neil Diamond, around this time. It showed that he was the real deal, even though it was put together quickly to ride the wave of his success. His songs had a lot of heart, were catchy, and were about real things. Kind of music that would make his career what it was. As soon as he walked on the Ed Sullivan Show in 1969, everything changed. A lot of people in the US saw Neil Diamond for the first time that night. Caroline, he sang while sitting on a simple stool. His voice and the story in his song were all that they had to draw people into his world. The stage had been changed for his second show when he came back. He sang Holy Holy while standing on a huge rainbow-colored tower with dancing flower kids all around him. It was a great picture of the late 1960s. It was bright, crazy, and full of color. Sweet Caroline shot to the top of the charts and is now a classic. Holy Holy also made the charts, though not as high. Even though it was a strong performance, that was the only time he would be on The Sullivan Show. This could be because the show was almost over. For almost 40 years, no one knew what happened with Sweet Caroline. In 2007, Diamond finally said that he wrote the song after seeing a picture of Caroline Kennedy as a child, riding her pony while dressed as a rider. He wasn't well known or had much money at the time, but seeing that simple picture gave him hope and a spark of ideas. After that, he wrote the song in a Memphis hotel room in less than an hour. After many years, he told the story at Caroline Kennedy's 50th birthday party, which made the song even more special. Over time, Sweet Caroline got a second life when the Boston Red Sox made it their unofficial song and played it at all of their home games. Diamond was still amazed that the song kept getting new fans after all these years. Neil Diamond signed with Uni Records in 1968, which changed everything. His first songs at Columbia were praised, but they didn't sell. After going to college, he had the freedom and help he needed. During this time, he got his first gold songs. People started to see him as more than just a songwriter. During this time, he also helped another growing star get started. When Elton John, a young British singer, came to the United States, Neil Diamond booked him his first big American show. At the same time, Diamond's songs got more personal and in-depth, and his performances got bigger and better, showing how powerful he could be on stage. Neil Diamond's first #1 song was Cracklin' Rosie, which came out in 1970. It was the reward for all the years of bus rides and writing songs in empty rooms. Diamond finally got it after living on almost nothing and putting his whole heart into songs like Solitary Man. His hard work paid off with Cracklin' Rosie, which had a catchy tune and touching words, and a sound that people couldn't forget. There was no question after that hit. He was no longer just a singer-songwriter, he was famous. The speed kept going up. Another #1 hit for Diamond was Song Sung Blue in 1972. It had the simple, heartfelt style that Diamond had mastered. He made one of the most important records of his career that summer, Hot August Night, during a run of 10 sold-out shows at Los Angeles' Greek Theater. Diamond was at his very best on the double live record. It was all there, the energy, the emotion, and the link with the crowd. Hot August Night wasn't just a record of concerts, that's when Neil Diamond became famous. He would write more about that night many times, with follow-ups coming out in 1987, 2009, and 2018. But nothing came close to the magic of the first show. As the year went on, Diamond took an even bigger risk. He was the first big pop rock star since Al Jolson to play the Winter Garden Theater on Broadway. For 20 nights in a row, he sold out the house. Young couples, old ladies, businessmen, and even hipsters who quietly loved his music came. It was a risk, but it paid off hugely and showed that Neil Diamond could charm people anywhere. At that point, Diamond did something very strange, right at the height of his fame. He stopped going on tours for over 3 years. Diamond stayed home with his family, wrote songs, and rested while other artists worried about being ignored. Some people were not sure if people still cared when he finally came back to the stage in late 1976. But they did, even more than before. In North America, Australia, and Europe, his comeback tour broke attendance records, bringing in over $5 million, which was a huge amount of money at the time. His concerts were bigger, his songs were better, and he had a stronger bond with his fans than ever. There were bigger things coming. Neil Diamond made a deal with Columbia Records in 1973 that changed the music business. Back then, they offered him $5 million for 5 records, which was a huge sum of money. Diamond felt free, so he decided to take a risk with his art. The movie version of Jonathan Livingston's Seagull had music by him. Seagull is a philosophical story about a seagull who wants to fly higher and faster than any other bird. Diamond's score was very different from his pop hits. It was full of deep emotional music. The movie didn't do well at all, but Diamond's songs did really well. The music made him a lot of money, won a Grammy, and even got him a Golden Globe. It wasn't all smooth though behind the scenes. Diamond got into a fight with the movie's director because his music was being changed without his permission. He promised himself that he would never work on a movie again unless he had full creative freedom. He kept his word until 1980 when he played the lead role in The Jazz Singer. Neil Diamond chose to try something new in 1980. He had never been in a movie before, but he got the lead part in The Jazz Singer, a new version of a famous movie from 1927. Hollywood paid him an amazing $3.5 million even though he had never been in a starring role before. This made him the highest-paid first-time actor ever, at that time. He played Yusel Rabinovich, a Jewish cantor who wanted to become a pop star and break away from custom. Many people were surprised by how well they got along with famous actors like Sir Laurence Olivier and Lucille Ball's daughter Lucie Arnaz. It made 3 times as much money as it cost to make the movie. But reviewers really didn't like how Diamond played her part. In any case, the music was a huge hit. Songs like America, Love on the Rocks, and Hello Again became favorites very quickly. There was even a controversial scene where Diamond dressed up as a black person to pay homage to the history of the original movie. Diamond decided after the event that he would rather stay a singer than try to make a second job in movies, besides making a few cameos as himself. After many years, he quit acting for good. Just like in Saving Silverman, United States was one of the Jazz Singer's most popular songs. It was more than just a hit, it became a sign. Diamond wrote it without giving it much thought because it was based on the story of his own family's immigration. He grew up in Brooklyn where his grandparents had moved there from Russia and Poland. "This is a gift from me to them," he said once. People could feel the sadness that was hiding in the song's hope. It got to number 8 on the Billboard charts and wasn't out of style in the US for years. Diamond never thought it would become an anthem for Latino immigration rights protests in the 2000s, but he loved it when it did. He said it's also the song for the Latino of today, proud that it touched people of all ages and backgrounds. Neil Diamond began his own trip a long time before he became famous. He was 22 years old and working as a waiter in the Catskills to pay for his music dreams. That's where he met Jay Posner, a young girl. Their link was made right away. In 1963, before anyone knew his name, they got married. While Jay was having trouble getting into music, he worked as a teacher. They had 2 children together named Marjorie and Aylin. But when his singing career took off in the late 1960s, the stress of the marriage broke it down. They were no longer together by 1967. And it was over for good in 1969. It was a sad and happy time. He was getting famous, but his family was dying at the same time. Neil got married to Marcia Murphy later that same year, a TV studio helper. There were rumors that they started dating before the end of his first marriage. They made a home together and had 2 kids, Jesse and Micah. For some time it looked like he was at peace, but once more the hard work of traveling and working late at night caught up with them. In 1995, after 25 years together, they split up. When news came out that Marcia got about $150 million in the deal, which is half of Neil's wealth, the media went crazy. He later said the number was a little too high, but he didn't say much more. He told her she got enough money to live on for the rest of her life and that she was worth every bit. Diamond didn't go to therapy. Instead, he put his feelings into song and made the album Tennessee Moon to get better. After a few years, something strange happened. In 1996, Diamond met Ray Farley in Brisbane while on tour in Australia. They became deeply in love and stayed together for 12 years. Ray even took over running his business that sold goods. When Ray's back surgery didn't work and he was in a lot of pain, their relationship was put to the test. During that hard year, Diamond was always by her side and wrote the songs for Home Before Dark. The music was filled with the love and sadness of that time. But even after everything they had been through, they broke up without telling anyone before 2008. It was a surprise when love found him again. Neil met Katie McNeil in 2009 while making a documentary about a show. A music producer who is a lot younger. They were almost 30 years apart in age, but it didn't bother them. In 2011, when he was 70 years old, Diamond sent out his very first tweet to say that they were getting married. Their wedding was small and in Los Angeles in 2012. Neil said he didn't want to end his life alone because of all the failed marriages he had been through. This time he had found someone who truly understood the trip and was going on it with him. Later, Katie would also become his manager. She was there for him when he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 2018 and had to stop performing after 50 amazing years. Even though Neil was going through some personal changes, his work took a sharp and powerful turn. He worked with the famous producer Rick Rubin and put out 12 songs in 2005. It was a return to his raw emotional style, and the fact that it debuted at number 4 on the Billboard list shocked everyone. Russian told Neil to slow down, play his guitar again, and take away all the extra effects. During some of the rehearsals, the legendary Billy Preston even recorded his last shows. The project not only did well at the box office, but it also changed how Diamond acted live, making him feel like he did in the beginning. A song Diamond had written a long time ago turned his career in another surprising direction. UB40's reggae version of his song Red Red Wine made it famous all over the world. It's funny that the band didn't know it was a Neil Diamond song. They believed in Nup. Gold Diamond was an artist from Jamaica. In 1983, their version was a huge hit in the UK. 5 years later, it was even bigger in the US, where it made number 1. Because Diamond liked their reggae version so much, he started playing it at his own shows. He was happy that they had given his old song a new lease on life. Neil Diamond's music kept surprising new people with its ability to reach them. Urge Overkill's dark and moody version of Girl You'll Be a Woman Soon was in Quentin Tarantino's movie Pulp Fiction. It made the old song into a frightening new classic. The band Deep Purple turned Kentucky Woman into a loud rock song. It had a raw country sound thanks to Johnny Cash. In 2009, Adele, Coldplay, and Foo Fighters were among the artists who paid tribute to Diamond's work. This showed how versatile his songs were across many styles. The business world also saw how great he was. In 1984, Diamond was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. In 2011, he was admitted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It's amazing that he sold more than 125 million records around the world, but what's even more impressive is how close he was to fans of all ages. People lived their lives because of him. He wasn't just a star. Only a few days before his 77th birthday in January 2018, Neil Diamond shared some very sad news. He told everyone that he had Parkinson's disease and had to stop playing because of it. The news was not expected. He was in the middle of his 50th anniversary tour, which included big shows in Australia and New Zealand. But his Parkinson's made it impossible for him to keep acting the way he wanted to because it gave him tremors and made it hard to keep his balance. He told his friends in his message that he was very upset but that he would keep writing and recording songs. It was the end of 50 years of live shows that had made millions of people happy. He thanked his fans at the end of his goodbye speech with a line from his biggest hit. "Thanks to you, this ride has been so good." The music world was shocked. Neil still put on strong shows that made people forget how old he was. He found it hard to leave the stage though. Neil didn't want to believe he was sick at first. He said he was in denial for almost 2 years in an interview in 2023. Neil told the doctor, "I'll see you whenever you want to see me, but I have work to do," when he told him the news. He ignored it and focused on making music in his Los Angeles workshop, which was full of awards from his many years of success. However, a storm was building up inside. Something inside him didn't change until 5 years later. Neil said he finally felt a strange calm in April 2023. He said that things have become very quiet. "I feel better about myself. I'm kinder to people. I'm not as hard on myself." He had to fight for years before he could find peace like that. Neil was going through his own problems when something out of the blue helped him get better. A Beautiful Noise, a Broadway show about his life, opened in New York in December 2022. There was more to it than just a show. It didn't sugarcoat anything. It showed his real problems, like being alone, broken hearts and sadness. The show was set up like therapy meetings, and the songs brought back memories of his past. Neil found it hard to watch. He said he was embarrassed and pleased and scared at the same time. He told the truth when asked what scared him the most. Being found out is the scariest thing because we all put on a front. Also, I'm not a famous person. Neil still found ways to surprise his fans even after he stopped touring. The night A Beautiful Sound came in, he jumped down from the balcony and led the crowd in singing Sweet Caroline. The theater shook with happiness. A lot of people were shocked because it was his first show in New York since 2017. He came back to sing more than once. He sang Sweet Caroline again at a Red Sox game in Boston in 2022, which thrilled baseball fans who had made the song their honor song. In the past, he sang at a Las Vegas charity event. Even in the early stages of the pandemic, he made a special form of Sweet Caroline that you wash your hands with to cheer people up.